Hi, I'm Jean Shafiroff, and I'm on a mission. Anyone can be a philanthropist. My television show came from my book, Successful Philanthropy: How to Make a Life by What You Give. Won't you join me? Welcome to Successful Philanthropy. I'm your host, Jean Shafiroff. This show is designed to highlight the work of philanthropic leaders here in the United States and then beyond. Today with us, Joe Pressley. And Mr. Pressley is the Chief Executive Officer of Hetrick-Martin Institute. Let's all welcome Joe. Joe, it is so nice to have you with us. And for our audience, would you talk a little bit exactly what Hetrick-Martin Institute does?
Sure. So the Hetrick-Martin Institute, we are the oldest and largest organization in the country serving young people in the LGBTQ community. And we believe that regardless of sexual orientation or identity, that all young people deserve a safe and supportive environment in which to achieve their full potential. Like I said, we've been doing this since 1979. We live in the intersections of our young people's lives. And so we provide services around reducing stigma around sexual orientation and gender expression, but also career advancement, mental health services, academic enrichment, workforce development, and also, most importantly, making certain that we provide basic needs for our young people. A lot of our young people present with being undomiciled or under-domiciled. And so we provide case management to connect them to housing solutions, to cash assistance, to access to nutritious foods. We believe that those basic needs have to be met before we even begin to address the myriad of needs that our young people present with.
And it sounds like what I'm hearing is that a lot of young children are in a situation where maybe they're no longer comfortable in their homes. And you come in and help them find housing and then give them therapy and then also food and supplies. Can you talk a little bit more about that, Joe?
Sure. So HMI, we provide services to young people between the ages of 13 to 24. Over 90% of our young people are people of color. In many cases, many of our young people who we work with, often they are facing issues in their homes around being ostracized, sometimes abuse, sometimes direct violence. And so we at HMI, our philosophy is that we believe, we see ourselves, we position ourselves, of course, with the agreement of our young people as part of their chosen family. And so we are a safe haven for them. We are a place where they can come and confide in us, talk about their dreams, their aspirations, their challenges, their triumphs. And so we do that through providing a safe and supportive environment. We do that, like I said earlier, through our case management services. Through COVID, this was extremely important. Many of our young people, unfortunately, could not shelter in place in a way that was nurturing. And some of these young people, they come from environments where they have families who are supportive, but for so many, they don't. And even in those supportive environments, they were missing connections to their friends, connections to other young people who, they're social networks. And so mental health services during the pandemic was extremely, extremely important. We saw a significant increase in the demand for case management services and mental health services through the pandemic. And in fact, we have a waiting list of over 300 people because of the pandemic.
And that's really wonderful. And I can't imagine being a young person and being in a situation where a family is not supportive. And what I'm hearing from you, Joe, is that Hetrick-Martin steps in and gives these children a safe haven and something really, really important. And no one should ever be discriminated against because of sexual preference, race, or their sex. No one should be discriminated against ever.
That's right.
And when you hear that a family is not supportive to a young person, in the LGBTQ community. Well, it's a very, very sad thing to hear. Now, Joe, I want to step back and let's talk about you a little bit. I had the opportunity to meet you a few days ago here in the Hamptons at an event for Hetrick-Martin Institute. And you mentioned during your talk at that event that you had originally been involved in government, and that because of your extreme desire to help the LGBTQ community, you switched from government to the private sector. And tell us why you did this in your words, and was there any one particular experience, maybe your personal experiences growing up, that helped you make this decision?
Wow, Jean, that's the $1 million question, because I tell you, it's really, there was a unique experience that happened to me about 1.5 years ago that drove me to where I am today. So as you mentioned, first of all, I'm a kid of Brooklyn. I was born in Bed-Stuy and grew up in Crown Heights, right in the middle of central Brooklyn. Went to public school all my life, and also attended college all my life in well, not all my life, but I attended colleges here in New York City as well. And I was before coming here to Hetrick-Martin, I was the deputy chief of staff for the Speaker of the City Council, Melissa Mark Vivarito. And I did that for a number of years, before, both when she was Speaker and before she became Speaker as a rank and file member of the City Council. And then after I left Melissa, after she was term limited, I actually was the Deputy Commissioner for Street Homeless Solutions at the Department of Homeless Services here in New York. And I did that. That was the last job I had before I came to HMI. And there was actually an incident which I will never, ever forget for as long as I live, that really was a catalyst for me coming back to the nonprofit world. I was also, in the distant past, I was worked at Gay Men's Health Crisis. I also worked at Harlem United Community Aid Center in leadership positions there. But like I said, I was in government for a number of years. So back in September of 2019, it was a Sunday afternoon, and I was waiting to go into the Brooklyn Public Library. It was a Sunday afternoon. It was a beautiful, beautiful late summer day in September. And the season was just about ready to change. Beautiful sky, beautiful day, right? And so about a dozen of us, maybe 20 or so people, standing on the steps of the Brooklyn Public Library, waiting to go in. I actually do a lot of my thinking and work at the library on Sundays. And in this particular day, there was a young African-American man, maybe I'd say about 16 years old, a teenager. He was sitting on the steps, seemingly reading a book. And there were some other young men behind him, about similar age. And I thought they were playing around. They were standing behind him, and I thought they were kidding around, just joking and kidding. And then the young man moves to another part of the steps in front of the library, and these young men follow him, and they start sort of hurling out horrible terms at him, calling him faggot and really terrible, terrible things. And something welled up in me. I'm like, please leave him alone. He is not bothering you. Stop it. This is not right. You got to stop this. This is wrong. And so other adults began to speak up as well. And the look on the young man's face was one of relief, one of, wow, a caring adult stepped in and, maybe saved me for whatever. And I tell you, Jean, I felt bad for the young man, but I also felt bad for the tormentors, because I was wondering what is going on that would fuel this amount of hate. And just the bullying was just horrific to see. So the doors of the library open, the young man walks in, and he sort of disappears, but you could see he was relieved. And the group of young men, they turned to me and they're like, why did you do that? Why did you get involved? Mind your business. I'm like, look, come on, guys, this is not the way to behave. This is unacceptable, and you just don't do this. And so that night, I went home to my husband, and I said, sweetie, I tell you, I've got to be doing something different, there's got to be something different in this city, in this country, where we are really standing up and championing these young people, where we're role models and we're helping to stop the bullying. And I says, I got to do something different. And I just feel like, working in government, while I've enjoyed it and feel like I've made a difference, I know that, and I've always said this, that I wanted to come back to the nonprofit community and to in particular, the queer community, and to do advocacy and direct work. And the opportunity presented itself here at the Hetrick-Martin Institute, and I applied, and it was just, it's home for me. I look in the faces of our young people here at the Hetrick-Martin Institute, and I see myself reflected. Their pain, the things I've gone through as a young adult and moving into adulthood. And I feel like I'm giving back. So that's why I'm here. It was really that incident that propelled me to seek opportunities here in the LGBTQ community. And I'm proud and happy to be here at the Hetrick-Martin Institute.
And you should be, because the work you're doing is vitally important. Now, Hetrick-Martin Institute, are you for both young men and young women, or just, do you have, is it for just men, or who is it for?
No, I don't want anyone to leave this conversation thinking that we work with the LGBTQ lesbians, gay, bisexual, transgender allies. We believe that it's about however you present yourself, we affirm you. We're about affirming folks. And no, we work with folks from various communities. It's extremely important.
And I'm going to ask you now and several times again, what is the website so that young people watching this TV show can reach out and get involved or get help?
So www.hmi.org is our website. And, if you Google Hetrick-Martin Institute, you will find us. It's easy to find. We definitely want to make certain that young people know that we are here as a resource for them. And so definitely. And
you have a hotline, correct?
We do, but I think the best way to reach us is via the website.
And Joe, getting back to you, growing up, what was that like for you?
So I born in Brooklyn, born in Bed-Stuy, grew up in Crown Heights. And, for me, I think experience, I had a supportive family, did not come out as gay though until my early adulthood in my 20s. And again, I'm a storyteller, right? I really believe in, telling, your truth and standing up in your experience, because I think that's informative. And so back when I was a teenager, I knew from an early age that I was attracted to other boys. And one incident in terms of, that sort of drove me to silence was an incident when I was about 13 years old, and I'm sitting in my church, in my family's church in central Brooklyn, and a pretty large church. And the pastor one Sunday afternoon, as part of his sermon, decides that this is the day that I'm going to talk about the abomination that is homosexuality. And, he did this. And here I am, a 13-year-old boy sitting in the middle of this church, knowing that I'm attracted to other boys. And the pastor said, well, if there's anyone in this church, I'll never forget this either, Jean. If there's anyone in this church who is gay, you have no place here. And I'm just like, wow. I felt like he was singling me out in the middle of those literally hundreds of people, and just horrific, and from that moment on, I just decided, like, okay, I'm not going to come back here. And I would find every excuse I could from not going to service on Sundays, and so was not out. I wish that I had a Hetrick-Martin Institute for me when I was 13, but I didn't. We didn't. That was back in the 70s, in the early 70s. And, I felt alone. And it wasn't until later in my becoming a young adult that I was able to find support and be able to come out to my friends. But it was a journey. It was a journey. And like I said, I wish I had a Hetrick-Martin Institute when I was a young person growing up in Brooklyn.
Now, Joe, you mentioned you grew up in Bed-Stuy, and somehow you went off to college and graduate school. And to those watching, especially to young people, to you, Joe, how important is education or learning trade?
Yeah, I think education is extremely important, right? Extremely important. I think it opens up doors. I think that we work, so it's extremely important. Hard stop. It's important. But I also believe that we have to lift up our young people wherever they are. And so some people, their journey is to go to, higher education, to go to a 2-year, then a 4-year college, and maybe other college, for other advanced degrees as well. Some of our young people may want to learn a trade. We believe that we have to work with what young people present to us, what they want, what their dreams and aspirations are. I believe it's important to show all avenues to young people. You may want to be a part of a union, a trade union. You may want to be part of work in the retail industry. Whatever those paths are, we here at Hetrick-Martin present those opportunities in terms of various areas of the workforce. And we believe that's extremely important. Not one size doesn't fit all. It's important to listen to young people. They will tell you what they want and what they desire. And it's also for us to sort of present options to them as well. So yes, academic enrichment is extremely important, and presenting paths to college enrollment is extremely important. But some of our young people may not want to go to college, even after those conversations. We just want to enable them to be their best selves wherever they are, and to have full access to whatever life has to offer wherever they wind up or wherever they are. And we present various avenues to do that. It's extremely, extremely important.
And Joe, I couldn't agree with you more. For young people watching this show, there are so many possibilities of what you can do when you get older and learning a trade. Some women want and men want to become hairdressers, and from starting as a hairdresser, very often you can go on to owning your own salon, and
That's right.
Sometimes people go on to start major companies and end up earning hundreds of millions of dollars through hair products. There's
That's
so many
right.
different things that people can do, and you really have to follow whatever career path you think is best for you and where you can maybe get work. I think getting work is very important, especially now. We've just come through a terrible pandemic, and number one, we have to be supportive of one another. And number two, I think we all have to look towards the future as a time where there are endless possibilities of what we can do and how we can develop into better human beings. And part of being a good human being is to have compassion for those around us, regardless of sexual preference or race or sexuality. So, Joe, this is very, very interesting. And for our audience, we are with Joe Pressley. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Hetrick-Martin Institute. Hetrick-Martin Institute is a institution or charity that works with the LGBTQ youth of New York and then really beyond. And Joe, what about volunteers, people who want to work with you and maybe want to serve as tutors to young children? Is there any possibility for people that want to get involved as volunteers?
Most definitely. So we provide, one thing I didn't mention earlier, we also provide a meals program. Every evening we provide a hot meal to our young people. So we always are looking for folks to come in to volunteer, to provide, to serve the meals, which is always a big help to us. In our academic enrichment, we always are looking for tutors, people who can help young people with their schoolwork. Many of our young people are in high school. Many of our young people don't have, like as I mentioned earlier, don't have a plethora of caring adults. And so there are definitely opportunities to provide tutoring, to provide counseling around mental health support. If we look for those areas too. Like I mentioned earlier, our there's a wait list of over 300 people. Our mental health services, we do not turn anyone away. If you don't have public support for it, we are a complete grant-funded case management mental health support organization, and we don't turn anyone away. But we always need support to help us provide those services as well. But yes, there are many, many volunteer opportunities here at the organization. We definitely would love to have more as well.
Yes, and I assume you vet the volunteers and perhaps you train them.
Yes. Vetting is extremely important because we are working with young people. There has to be, we have to screen people and make certain that, they are able to provide the direct interaction with our young people. And then we also indoctrinate people, train people to HMI protocols and policies and all that. So extremely important.
And what is the website for those that may want to get involved as volunteers and also for donors? Many people watching this may want to make a donation. And for our audience, any type of donation is welcome. Remember, just because you're not in a position to write that $1 million check, smaller checks are welcome. And collectively, when you donate to a charity, all the little donations add up to something.
Right. I mean, on our website, again, I would direct everyone back to our website. There's opportunities to donate, to volunteer, to get more information about HMI. It's easy. Just go to www.hmi.org and you will find various ways to donate, to volunteer your time, to ask more questions, and to see the range of services that we provide at the Hetrick-Martin Institute as well.
And Joe, we just have a few minutes left, but what advice would you give to parents who perhaps are in a situation where they have a young son or daughter who is deciding or unsure of sexual preference, and how would you advise a parent?
Yeah, I would say to that parent, listen to your young person. Listen, listen, listen. Don't prejudge. Don't assume. Be the caring adult to that young person that I know that you can be. If you need help, reach out to the Hetrick-Martin Institute. Reach out to other organizations that are out there. But if you need support, don't feel embarrassed because you feel like you don't have all the answers. Don't feel embarrassed if something wells up in you that you feel like you're, like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling, negative about my young person? Those are feelings that, are real. And I just think that people should not ignore them. So I would say to the parent, listen to your inner voice. If there's something that you feel you need support in, there are organizations out there, Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays, PFLAG, you should reach out to them. Talk to other parents, talk to, like I said, come to the Hetrick-Martin, talk to us at Hetrick-Martin. But most importantly, listen to your young person. Don't make assumptions. Don't judge them. Listen and be the caring parent that I know that you can be.
Joe, that is excellent advice. And to all the parents watching, we must first give our children love and then acceptance. And each child has the right to choose their own sexual preference.
That's right.
And as a parent, we have an obligation, or as parents, an obligation to help our children. Parents, we all love our children. We want to do what's best for them. And if you need support, your child might need support, by all means, reach out to Hetrick-Martin or another group, but get help if you need help.
That's right.
And Joe, we have about a minute left. What words do you want to leave us all with?
I would say, I think for me, what I think is going to change the world is for people to be their authentic selves and to come to all spaces that you walk through with your full authenticity. And that's how I live my life. And I think it's opened up so many doors for me. I think it helps to build bridges between communities. And I think that by walking into spaces and being your authentic self is one of the best important tools in terms of coalition work and building bridges between communities that may be seemingly different. And so I would leave with that, that it's what I bring to the Hetrick-Martin Institute. I bring my identity as a Black man, as a gay man, as someone who's grown up in New York, as someone whose family grew up fairly poor. And I bring all of that into my adulthood and into my interactions with whoever I come across. And I would say authenticity and being your full self and bringing your full self to conversations will change the world.
Joe, this was really a wonderful interview. I want to thank you very much for all the information that you've given us. This concludes Successful Philanthropy. Our guest today, Joe Pressley. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Hetrick-Martin Institute, the largest and oldest organization supporting LGBTQ youth in America. Thank you very much. I'm Jean Shafiroff, your host, and I'll see you next week.